Alright, welcome back to Super Ultra Budget Magic Online. I'd like to introduce you to my latest deck. This is a modern deck that I call BudgeTron. Basically, it's supposed to be a budget entry option for modern. Ends up clocking in just over $30 if you don't have any of the stuff in your collection already. Basically, it draws from other Tron decks. Primarily the less expensive options, and then there are the biggest contributor is going to be the eldrazi tron deck, and then you add to that some of the budget-friendly options that are available in older format stuff. Like if you wanted to look at like a cloud post deck for legacy, where you're really trying to tax your opponent, and that stuff's actually going to tax you part of the time also, but you can afford it because it just makes ridiculous amounts of mana. Another thing that works really well in this deck is that you end up with some nice card draw between things like your expedition map and your Seagate wreckage and your matter reshapers and your filigree familiar. So we're going to look at some of the individual cards in the deck. Simian Spirit Guide. You're never going to cast those unless you're using another Simian Spirit Guide to cast it. Those are, of course, for the instant mana that you can get by exiling them from your hand. And the reason to do that in this deck is to make things explosive when you want to get out something like a Thorn of Amethyst on your first turn, or if you want to get out a lodestone golem super early as well, because those things are going to tax your opponent a lot more than they're going to tax you. So the Thorn of Amethyst works like Thalia. It taxes non-creature spells, one extra to pay, and the lodestone golem taxes non-artifact spells. But a lot of your stuff is artifacts. You've got something like 14, 15 of them. So almost half of the spells that you're casting, and a lot of your stuff is creatures, which we can look that up exactly a lot quicker. 25 of them are creatures, so that is the vast majority of your spells. And again, while it's taxing your opponent, it's taxing you some of the time, but you can afford it once you get things online with your Tron lands. Something that I've discovered that might have been obvious to some of you, Matter Reshaper, when it dies, allows you to ramp if you happen to pull one of your lands right off the top. Puts it straight onto the battlefield, so that can help to speed things up. You've got Filigree Familiar, which also allows you to draw a card, and it's some life gain, which my experience with the deck so far, not relevant, but it's a cool card anyways. Phyrexian Revoker gives you an answer for pesky planeswalkers and random creatures that have activated abilities that might be problematic, like if you're up against Griselbrand. Reality Smasher is just raw hasty power of 5/5 for 5 with trample. And it's difficult to remove because your opponent has to discard cards to target it with stuff. That's awesome. Conduit of Ruin. There's a couple of these in the deck. This does a couple of things for you. It allows you to go get some of your one-ofs for specific situations. And it only tutors the creatures. It ends up making your other stuff less expensive. It's a decent sized body on the battlefield to boot. It does a lot of stuff for your deck all around. Endbringer, same price. Again, just does a ton of stuff for your deck. Platinum Angel is one of the one-ofs. That's going to be something that you can tutor 4 with your Conduit of Ruin, and it ends up great if your opponent is playing something where they don't have